name and dropping some comments so that we know that you're watching. I want to remind you too that after tonight's over, we're going to be joining in our Zoom breakout room. I'm going to be leading some discussion about the topic that we're going to cover tonight, which is healthy food choices and good eating habits. So I can't wait to see you guys in our Zoom room after we're done. In just a little bit, we're going to hear from our intern, LAYNIE, who's going to share a really cool story that happened to her this week. I'm going to share a special message for our students that I hope you can relate to, and I hope that we can learn and move forward together. I want to remind you that this week starts our new lunch bunch. So on Tuesday, we're going to host the sophomore class, and on Thursday, the 6th grade class. So if you're a sophomore or a 6th grader, if you just finished 10th grade or 6th grade, we would love to see you here at Wesley this week. We're going to share some lunch, play a game, and have a good time together. It will be great to see you guys in person. There's only one thing that we need from you in order to come to Lunch Bunch, and that's to sign up. Basically, we just need to know how much lunch that we're going to have, and so we can manage our group size. You can do that on our students page by clicking on age groups and then students and scrolling down to the Lunch Bunch tab. Guys, I'm so excited that you're here tonight to spend some time with us. I can't wait to show you the conversation that we've made this week about food and food choices, and I can't wait to see you afterward in our Zoom breakout rooms. I hope you guys enjoy tonight.
What's his name? I would like this. Hey, Foxy. Can we be friends? Yes? What? Aaron, he doesn't like you. You stink. This thing smells weird. Hey guys, it's LAYNIE, and this week instead of telling you a funny story, I'm going to tell you what happened to me the other day that made me feel blessed, and hopefully you'll like the story. So Aaron told me to take some senior signs to the houses around the neighborhood, and I was a little nervous because I don't actually know anyone yet. I haven't met anyone. And I was getting out of my car to the first house. I stuck the sign in the ground, and then I heard, "Is she graduating?" He was super excited. I had no idea like where it was coming from. So I look over and there's a neighbor on a ladder behind a bush working on his yard. And I was like, "Yeah, she's graduating. I don't know her, but she's graduating." And he said it again, "Is she graduating?" I guess he couldn't hear me. And so he started walking closer to me. I walked closer to him. We met at the end of his driveway, and I was a little skeptical just because I didn't really know the area or who he was. And he began telling me about his life and asked me how I knew the girl. I said I actually have never met her, but I work at the church that she attends. And as I told him that, he was like, "Well, do you go to school? Where do you go to school? What do you plan on doing with your life?" I told him I go to Georgia College and I'm hoping to go into youth ministry one day. And after I said that, he grabbed my hand and he said, "Well, can I pray for you?" And he was like super excited about it. And he began praying for me. And then after he prayed for me, he told me a little more about his life and how God's worked in his life. And he asked me some more about my life and asked me where I was from. I told him I was from Thompson, which is like 30 minutes down the road. He ran into his garage. He was like, "Wait there, wait right there." Super excited the whole time. Ran into his garage, grabbed $5. He put it in my hand and he said, "Well, get back in your car. You gotta put these other signs up and go home." I normally don't accept money from other people, but I just was in such shock. I'm not used to people being so nice to people they've never met. So I got back in my car and I was just like, what just happened? Like, I've heard stories like this happening to other people, but nothing like that has ever happened to me before. In that moment, it really just made my entire week better because I've been so focused on the negatives and the bad things that have been happening, because I mean, it's pretty obvious that there is a lot of stuff going on right now. But just because there's a lot of bad things happening doesn't mean that you shouldn't focus on the good too. This week, I want to encourage you to slow down and just look around and see what God is doing in your life. Because it may be easier to just get in your car and drive away, but if you take a moment and get to know the people around you, God might show you something that you didn't already know. Bye guys, thank you for joining me, and I hope to see some of you in person this week.
Well, hey, Wesley students, this is not going to be our typical fun, funny video of the week, but mainly that's because there's a lot of things going on in our world and in our nation right now that I feel like I just want to cover for just a second with you and hopefully give you something to think about, but ultimately something to do moving forward. There are three things that I've been thinking about as your youth pastor, as a staff member, as a Jesus follower, that I feel like I just need to take some time and share with you, and we can talk about it later. You can ask me some questions. We can think about what we might do in the days and weeks that are to come. But I want to share those three things with you right now for a few minutes, and then we'll get on with the rest of the night. These are things that I feel like we can all do. These are three applicable things that I think we are all able to do or capable of, and so I want to share these with you very quickly. The first one is this: may we all be more serious in our prayer. We need to pray for our country. We need to pray for our cities and our communities. We need to pray for our brothers and sisters who look like us and our brothers and sisters who don't. We need to pray for our friends and our neighbors in the Black community who are hurting and who are grieving right now. We need to pray for our elected officials, for our government leaders. We need to pray for our community leaders and those who have influence. We need to pray for our pastors and pray for our church leaders for wisdom and for guidance in the days and weeks that are to come. We need to pray for peace. We need to pray for justice, and we need to pray that people would come to know the transcending love of God, because it is that love that is truly going to bring change to our world. Also, I want to challenge all of us to pray before we speak. Think about this. Think about Jesus in his life and in his ministry. All the times where there was something big happening, or something big coming, or a trial or a test or a moment in the crowd or somewhere where he had to go or do, Jesus would stop and he would pray. And so if Jesus, fully God and fully man, if Jesus had to stop and pray before he did something, how much more should we be praying before we speak, especially in such a time as this? I'm not saying that we don't need to speak. I do think we need to speak. We need to speak out for justice, and we need to speak out for love, and we need to speak out in support. But what I am saying is that I want God to lead every part of my life. And especially now, I want God to lead how I speak. The second thing is this: be a listener and be a learner. There's a lot of things in our world that I don't understand. There's a lot of things going on right now in our world and in our country that I don't understand. Most apparent to me right now is that I don't understand how it feels to be a Black man, to be a Black person in our country right now. And I can't. I won't know what that feels like. I can't know what that feels like, but I can listen and I can learn. And in sitting down with somebody who doesn't look like you and asking them about their life and asking them their story, we can honor them. We can sit and we can listen and we can learn. And be quick to listen and slow to speak. Be quick to listen and slow to speak. And so that's my prayer for me. That's my prayer for you, is that we would listen and we would learn. And the third thing is this: share Jesus. Real change is going to come from changed hearts. I had to learn a long time ago in ministry that as much as I wanted to, as much as I tried, as much as I fought to change somebody else's heart, I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it, but I know that Jesus can. And so what I can do is I can usher people into the presence of Jesus, the author and the perfecter of our faith, the only person that's going to be able to change hearts. And I want to do that because I know and I understand, as a Christian, as a Christ follower, that transcendent love, that powerful love of Jesus is the one thing that's going to be able to change our world. Share Jesus, because real change is going to come from changed hearts. Now, I realize that this is going to be an imperfect response. It's imperfect because I'm imperfect. Some people are going to say that it wasn't enough, that I should say more. Some people are going to think it's too much and they're going to feel weird about it. But it's an imperfect response. That's probably true. But I do think that for me and for our student ministry, this is one step forward, even if it's an imperfect one. It's a step forward towards an obedient God who is calling us to seek justice, to love mercy, and to walk humbly. So I hope that you'll do these things with me. I hope you'll be serious in prayer with me. I hope that you'll be a listener, and I hope you'll be a learner with me, and I hope that you will share Jesus. Thanks, guys. Well, hey Wesley students and Wesley family, you might be wondering what I am doing in my garage with my tools and my saws and everything like that. Well, this Sunday we're starting a new series called How To, and it's talking about how we're going to learn grown-up things before we actually grow up. So we're going to cover things like car maintenance and basic car knowledge. We're going to cover finances and how to handle your money. We're going to talk about cooking and cleaning and laundry, talk about interview skills and interview, whether that's for college or for a part-time job. And then we're going to talk about personal safety and security. And so the cool part about this is we're going to teach you a lot of life skills, but we want to reward you too. So we're going to have these things called conversation guides. And these are to be done after you've watched the message. They're going to be some hands-on activities that you can do either by yourself, but even better if you'll do with a parent. And so if you complete these things and you submit them by the next day, by Monday at 6 o'clock, your name is going to be entered into a hat to win two things. This cool toolkit filled with a bunch of tools thanks to our friends at Ace Hardware. There's a lot of great stuff in here, and a toolkit is like the perfect thing to have for a teenager as they prepare to be grown up and to be on their own. So a cool toolkit. But then also we're going to reward, if we pull your name, we're going to give you a free fall retreat when we go back to Rooted this fall. And so the directions for those conversation guides and submitting those are going to be on the website and also on the document themselves. Guys, I'm looking forward to this. I know this is different. Parents, what an awesome opportunity to, number one, spend time with your teenager, but two, to teach them skills that are going to help them succeed in the days and weeks and years to come. Guys, I hope you'll dig into this. I hope you're going to participate with us. This is How To, learning grown-up things before you grow up. We'll catch you later.
Hey guys, this is my new friend Reagan, and she's going to tell us a little bit about eating healthy. What makes you qualified to tell us about that?
Well, I guess sometimes that might be debatable, but just from an education standpoint, I have a Bachelor of Science degree in Nutrition and Food Science. I also have a graduate degree as a registered dietitian nutritionist. I've been a dietitian nutritionist for more than 20 years, so I have a lot of experience in talking to people about basically what's healthy to eat. I worked, when I first got out of graduate school, at a food magazine. Then I worked for the Got Milk campaign, which is a little older than you may remember, but it was around for a long time. And then for the last 10 years, I've worked as a dietitian in social media.
Cool. How have you been able to minister to others with your job?
Well, you know, it really comes back to the basics of if we don't have a healthy body and we don't feel our best, we can't get out and do for others. We can't minister to our families. We can't minister to those that are in our communities. You know, I remember growing up, you know, kind of hearing this basic of our body as a temple, and we think about that a lot in terms of like the spiritual food that we're putting in when we're, you know, doing our Bible study, when we're praying, when we're, you know, doing devotions. But sometimes there's a disconnect between what we put into our bodies as fuel. So I really just try to help people understand this is really the basics. You know, we were all given one body and we know how to fuel it. It's just about making healthy choices to make sure that we do that.
Can you give me a few tips?
Absolutely, that is what I'm here for. Okay, so when I typically talk to people who are, you know, sort of in your age range, and I have 2 children, I have one that's elementary school and one that's in middle school, so I kind of understand middle school. And believe it or not, once in a lifetime ago, I was high school and I was in college. So, you know, kind of know that like it runs the spectrum, but there are really some basics. One of the basics, and Aaron is who reminded me of that, is what you're eating when you wake up in the morning. Okay, I know this is common, that a lot of times teenagers, especially college age students, tend to wake up, they're not hungry, they dash out for school or they dash out for class or wherever they're going, and they don't eat breakfast, and then by the time that lunch rolls around, they are just absolutely starving. Whenever you do that, you essentially set yourself up to not make the healthiest choice. And the reason why is because when we get really, really energy deprived, meaning like we haven't eaten and our energy level is just crashing and our stomach is rumbling, our bodies naturally say, go for whatever is really high in calories. So that's typically gonna be something that's high in sugar, that's high in fat. You know, frankly, something like a cucumber slice when you come in at lunch or you're sitting down to eat lunch and you're starving doesn't sound that great. So that's one of the things that I just say, you know, think about starting off your day with something. It does not have to be some traditional breakfast food that, you know, maybe your mom and dad like. It's whatever you can eat first thing in the morning. The other thing is if you consistently find yourself waking up not hungry in the morning, I usually say, like, what are you eating late at night? That's kind of a problem too. Our bodies were really set up to like stop eating when the sun goes down, start eating when the sun comes up. So if you're like getting out the chips in the middle of the night and you're waking up and not hungry for breakfast, it may be because you're eating so late into the night. So, you know, think about that. So that's the first thing, is really just thinking about, are you eating breakfast? Maybe you're eating breakfast and you're skipping lunch, and then, you know, if you're in high school or middle school or whatever and you're going to some sort of practice in the afternoon, whether that's band practice or whether that's, you know, lacrosse or football or whatever, then the same thing happens when you come home for dinner. You're just so famished. So really just trying to balance it out so that you're fueling your body during the day when the sun's up, and you're letting your body rest and digest at night when you're supposed to be asleep.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What are your opinions about fast food?
Okay, so let's be realistic. Fast food is good because it's fast, right?
Yes.
And honestly, it tastes really good too. I mean, I'm a dietitian and I know that fast food tastes really good. So it would be very unrealistic for me to say you should never ever go through a drive-through, you should never do takeout. I mean, that's our only option really right now, it seems, is, you know, to get something that's fast food. It's almost a little bit of celebration when you've been coming out of quarantine. What I typically try to help teens understand is that fast food is one of those what I would call occasional foods. If you think about 80% of the time, if you can be eating mostly healthy and 20% of the time you're kind of splurging on something, that's a pretty easy way to balance it. We can talk about things at fast food like, you know, ordering the grilled chicken instead of the fried chicken. We can talk about putting veggies on your pizza with only maybe one meat. There's definitely things that you can do to increase your vegetable consumption and decrease the amount of like fried food that you're eating. But if you don't do anything other than just go with my 80-20 rule, where 80% of the time you're eating a balanced plate, and we can talk about that, and then 20% of the time, you know, if you love Five Guys burgers, then you just enjoy that every once in a while, that's okay.
Okay, what is in your idea of a balanced plate?
Okay, I'm glad that you asked. Okay, so a couple of things to think about. First of all, let's talk about plates. So you've got this size plate, and then you got this size plate, right?
Right.
Very, very different. So think about whatever you're doing when you're, if you're eating at home, if you're going through a buffet, whatever you're doing, think about the size of the plate that you're eating. Probably most of us don't need a plate that big mounded over with food. So think about serving size. This also applies to what you asked about in terms of fast food. If you're ordering fast food, going through fast food maybe more than 20% of the time, maybe what you should do is just cut back, get the small fry, not get a large soda, just scale back your portions. The same thing happens with what you choose to put on your plate. Just look at how much you're putting on it. Now, I typically have a really good guide, a rule of thumb for when you sit down to your plate, what your plate should look like. If you think about dissecting your plate in half, like this, if you did a line like this, half of this should be fruits and vegetables. So think about that. Like, how many times do you make your plate and you do half of it fruits and vegetables? That change alone makes a big difference in whether or not you're eating a lot of healthy foods. 1/4 of it should be protein. Protein, things like, lean chicken or fish or even beef or beans if you're someone who's a vegetarian. That little portion should be protein. Typically in America, we eat a lot of protein and we just don't simply need that much. Our bodies don't need that much. And then this other quadrant, this other fourth right here, would be where you get like your energy foods. Your energy foods like rice, pasta, even bread. So if you can always think of it that way, you automatically build a better plate. Now, a lot of times when I say that, especially to teens, middle schoolers, I get this face of like, but I don't like vegetables. And I get that. Even though I'm a dietitian, I didn't like vegetables when I was growing up. So I get that. The thing is, it takes 10 times of trying a new food for you sometimes to like it. In other words, you can try a food 9 times and you're like, I don't like red bell pepper. I've tried it 9 times. You may try it on the 10th time and you may actually like it. So I always say, keep trying. The other thing is, I'm gonna bring out the handy dandy, make every veggie better. And a lot of people are like, what? The dietitian's saying you can eat ranch? If the only way you'll eat baby carrots or the only way you'll eat cucumbers is to put some ranch with it, that's okay. What I wanna see kids, teens, middle schoolers do is develop a lifelong love of vegetables, and sometimes vegetables need a little bit of help. So if the only way you're gonna put half of your plate as fruits and vegetables is to do something like add a little ranch, add a little hummus, add a little avocado, something like that, that is okay. I just want you eating more fruits and vegetables, whatever way you can do that.
You said something about not drinking as much soda. What's wrong with soda?
Ooh, soda. That's a really good one. Okay, so let's think about soda from a couple of different angles. First of all, regular soda has a ton of sugar in it. Maybe like 12 to 15 teaspoons, depending on the choice, in a can of soda. So it's just a lot of sugar that, frankly, I'd rather go eat a donut. Your body would rather you eat a donut, and here's why. When you drink soda that has sugar in it, your brain does not recognize that you've just had a ton of sugar. It will continue to keep you hungry. If you go eat a donut that has just as much sugar in it, your brain talks to your stomach and says, we're good, we had a donut, we probably don't need another one. So one, when you're drinking soda, you're drinking so much sugar and it's just a lot of extra calories. Okay, calories are an energy unit of food, and when you take in more calories than your body needs, it just begins to store it. Okay, so there's a lot of sugar, it's not good for your teeth, and then some sodas, like good old Coca-Cola, Dr. Pepper, Mountain Dew, Monster energy drinks, even, not a soda, but even a lot of the Starbucks drinks, they have a lot of caffeine in them. And that is one thing that I see teens especially not really realizing how much caffeine they're drinking. And where that comes into play, how many times have maybe you or your friend said, like my parents say, it's time for me to go to bed, but like I'm not sleepy. Well, then I have to say, well, did you drink 2 Cokes in the afternoon? because that caffeine will absolutely keep you up. So it keeps you up at night, makes it harder to get up for school or whatever the next day, and you may find yourself staying awake and grabbing the chips that we were talking about earlier that make you not want to eat breakfast. So again, with soda, it's one of those things that you really want to think about how much caffeine, and even diet beverages like Diet Coke has caffeine in it. You want to think about how much caffeine you're consuming and how much sugar. I, personally really like to recommend as much as possible drinking things like water, sparkling water. I mean, those are my two favorite choices. Our bodies are the majority of it made up of water. It's so crucial to feeling good, feeling your best, feeling energized. That's typically my choice. View soda more as a splurge, not the thing that you always include at every meal. But if you're going to choose it, think about what I said in serving sizes. If you're definitely going to have, a Coke with your burger, at least try to go for the small one and then drink water the rest of the time.
Can eating healthy affect your mood?
Absolutely. And the opposite is true. Not eating healthy can also affect your mood. Okay, so I don't want to get too deep into the science, but it really has to do with what we call the microbiome, and that's all the bacteria that lives in your gut, like in your intestines. And what happens is those bacteria and a lot of the receptors that are in your like your small intestine, they talk to your brain. And so when you're putting in healthier foods, they're really happy. They're sending your message they're sending your brain these messages like, we're happy, this is working out good, you're feeding us what we need. And when you are not putting those in, so like you're just not eating enough healthy food, or you're eating a bunch of junk food, I'll use that term loosely because remember we talked about 80-20, you eat that some of the times. And they just start sending signals to your brain that say, we're not happy with what's happening here. So food absolutely does affect your mood. And then things like not getting enough sleep, eating in the middle of the night, that also can affect your mood. It can leave you the next day feeling really tired and really wiped out. People underestimate, adults too, like your parents probably underestimate how much effect that what you eat and what you drink has on how you feel, not only just physically, but mentally as well.
So in your opinion, does it matter how much a person exercises?
Great question. All right, so exercise is super important. I always tell my kids, it's my job to feed you healthy food, and for you to choose them, it's your job to move your body. So we all need to be moving our body. Exercise is important. It's a part of this energy balance. However, you can't outrun an unhealthy diet. A lot of people, try to think that, I can eat all this junk because I'm getting tons of exercise. But what you forget is, while weight gain and weight loss is about how many calories you take in and how many you burn, so that is, about exercise. There's so much more to health. There's how many vitamins and minerals you're getting in. There are how many, what they call macronutrients, how many carbohydrates, how much protein, how much fat. There are things in plant foods that are called phytonutrients. And so if you're choosing candy bars because you run a lot, yes, you may actually burn off that energy and you may not gain weight. That's only one small part of health. Weight is just such a small part of health. We tend to focus on it a lot, but having things like strong bones, because anybody that's anywhere from middle school up through high school, even some on into college, your bones are still growing and they're still getting stronger. So when you're choosing things that don't have calcium in them, are you giving your body enough calcium and vitamin D to have strong bones? Not if you're not choosing well. So exercise is important, but you can't outrun an unhealthy diet.
What's your idea of snacks? Should someone eat only 3 meals a day, or are snacks okay?
Snacks can be great, especially if you are choosing snacks and they are kind of adding good things to your diet. Where you kind of mess up is when snacks become your opportunity to get a lot of junk in, right? So they can end up adding a lot of extra calories that you don't need. And it's kind of basic, like mom and dad said when we were little. It can spoil your dinner. So you really have to think about what it is that you're choosing. I love to encourage snacks as fruit as snacks, that's a great opportunity. If you like fruit, but you're not eating it at breakfast, you're not eating it at lunch or dinner, apples, strawberries, blueberries, oranges. Most people, even if they don't like vegetables, they'll find some sort of fruit that they like. So that's a great opportunity to eat more fruit. Things like nuts are awesome for snacks. Yogurt, even chocolate milk. There's a lot of foods that kind of fall in that healthier snack category that if you can add them in and help you get more calcium in your diet or more fruits in your diet, then I say snacks are a great thing.
Okay, I have a scenario for you.
Yeah.
Let's say Aaron doesn't like eating breakfast.
Okay.
So he went to school,
Uh-huh.
he ate lunch, but then he went to lacrosse practice.
Yeah.
And he came home and he's absolutely wanting to raid the kitchen. What
Right.
is a snack that is healthy that he can eat that'll also fill him up?
Okay, so Aaron, I'm thinking about him and I'm thinking, he's not like this small girl that I'm gonna say, well, get you some carrot, get you some carrots and ranch. He's probably gonna need something that fills him up a little bit more, especially if he's waiting on dinner to get ready. So that's a great opportunity to get in some nuts, that crunch is gonna be a dense source of calories. You can always choose things like tortilla chips and salsa, which seem a little bit junky, but really tortilla chips most of the time is just corn, salt, and a little bit of oil that it's cooked in. Salsa is actually a vegetable. So, looking for something that's going to fill him up is really important, but it also has to fit that rule, like we said about snacks. It has to add to his diet and do something to help his diet, not coming in and choosing a candy bar just because it's quick sugar.
Can you ever eat too many fruit and vegetables?
If it's fresh fruit and fresh vegetables, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say no, because here's what happens. Fresh fruits, fresh vegetables have a ton of water in them and they have a ton of fiber, and fiber fills you up and virtually has no calories, and fiber is like magic to the insides of your bodies. It just does amazing things to your digestion and makes that whole inside of your body feel awesome. So you would have to eat so much that you would get super, super full. So in my opinion, no. Now, when it comes to fruit juice and dried fruit, where with fruit juice, you've taken all the fiber away, and with dried fruit, you've taken all the water away, yes, you can overdo it. I'm still a fan of dried fruit. I'm still a fan of fruit juice, but it's more in moderation. 1 serving of juice maybe a day, 2 maybe if you're a guy, especially if you're growing. If you're a guy and you're growing and you're playing sports, maybe even 3. We have to be smart about this. What fits for some people who are larger and more active is not the same for someone who's smaller and less active. So, fruit juice, okay in moderation. Dried fruit, also okay in moderation, but that's the difference in overdoing fruits or vegetables. Honestly, with vegetables, I can hardly think of a vegetable that you could overdo it in. Most people need to eat more vegetables, not less. So that one, I say, if you have a vegetable that you like, even if it's just one vegetable, the more that you can eat of it, the better off you're gonna be.
What is the first way to change an unhealthy diet?
Well, I think it's important to understand that nutrition is very personalized. We are all different. We come from different homes, we have different interests, we have different taste buds, we have different genetics, we have different motivations, things that we like, we don't like. So what I always say, whether I'm talking to someone who's in middle school, high school, college, or an adult, is the best, most important first change that you can make to eat healthier is the one that you will make and you will stick with. You can I can give you tons of recommendations on eating more plants, eating more fruits and vegetables, not drinking soda, going to 80-20, eating fast food only 20% of the time. But the one that matters is the one that you can consistently stick with. So don't hear anything that I've said today and think, I gotta do all these things this dietitian said. No, it's about arming yourself with understanding and information and then deciding what fits for me. Maybe it's just eating breakfast in the morning. Maybe that's the one change you make. But if you can make that change and stick with it, you're automatically going to feel better. And when you start feeling better, it's when you begin to make more and more healthy changes. So don't be overwhelmed with it. Just look at it like now you have all the pieces of information and you get to choose which one you want to start with.
Growing up, weight and body image have always been something that I know as a girl, I've thought a lot about, thinking that I need to be a certain weight. But does that actually play into a healthy lifestyle?
Weight is such an important topic, and I'm glad that you brought it up, because the reality is weight is just a number on a scale. And I know that, kind of what you're getting at is girls, I certainly remember it. It hasn't changed that much in all these many years. I used to worry about the fat that I had on my body, whether I had too much, whether I had too little. And the reality is, and this is so true, that if you feed your body healthy food, you get plenty of movement, you get plenty of rest, your body figures out how big it is supposed to be. So that means you can be healthy at a lot of different sizes. And I see a lot of young women and older women let their entire day, their week, their month, their year be influenced by a number on a scale. And if you're someone who knows that, then I just encourage you to walk away, step away from the scale. As dietitians, we use scales sometimes because they're one tool in our toolbox to kind of know how someone is progressing and how they're changing. But way more important than the number on the scale or how much fat you have on your body is, are you doing the things that we talked about today? Are you nourishing your body with fruits and vegetables and healthy foods? Are you avoiding drinking tons of sugar and caffeine? Are you getting plenty of rest at night? Are you choosing healthy snacks? All of these things, when you do that for your body will figure it out. We kind of started this off talking about, service and how this is a ministry. I truly believe that God did not make mistakes with our bodies. So if your body is one that is meant to have more fat on it, as long as you're giving your body what it needs, your body will figure it out.
As we're wrapping up, what is one tip that you would give about healthy eating that everyone might not know?
Okay, it's actually not about what's in your containers, but it's about what you do with storage containers. And this is one that I really especially want to call attention to, because a lot of people don't realize this, adults included. So this may be one of those things that parents don't actually realize. But you should never microwave your food in plastic, whether that's the plastic that you've stored it in or a takeout container. There are chemicals that are in plastics that are not good for our bodies. And when you heat them up, they get into your food. And so this is one of those things, I didn't grow up knowing that. I kind of grew up in the heyday of microwaves, and now, of course, we all have them. And that's one of the easy ways, is to just grab this out of the fridge and put it in the microwave. But when you do that, you're really making your food, what I would say, unsafe. And food safety is just as important as what you're actually putting in your body in terms of the quality of the food. Farmers all across the country do a really good job of helping grow safe food, but if we don't wash our fruits and vegetables and we don't cook them appropriately and refrigerate them, then we can end up not eating healthy food just by the way that we treat them. So that's the one tip that I would give that a lot of people don't know.
Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you, Miss Reagan, for telling us how to live a healthier lifestyle. If you would like to contact her with any questions, there's ways right there. Don't forget, there's a conversation guide available on the website. Thank you, Miss Reagan, for helping us learn how to eat healthier.
It was my pleasure.
Hey students, thanks so much for joining us tonight for our Wesley Students Online Experience. I just want to remind you to make sure that you follow our Instagram right here, and then check out our YouTube channel up here so you can get updated information and content. Thanks for joining us tonight, and we'll see you next Sunday.